Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the national integration, okay? That is the topic on which we have been discussing right now, okay? Within this topic, these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series of the national integration. The topics are the introduction part, the meaning of national integration, the aims of national integration, the role of various factors in promoting the national integration, the obstacles to the national integration, the National Integration Council, the National Foundation for Communal Harmony. All right. So these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion. If we talk about the topics that we have covered so far, then basically we have done with the introduction part. We have done with the meaning of national integration. We have done with the aims of the national integration. We have done with the role of various factors in promoting the national integration. So these are the topics that we have completed so far. If we talk about the topic on which we have been discussing on, so this is the obstacles to the national integration. This is the topic on which we have been discussing. If we talk about the topics that we are left with, these topics are National Integration Council and the National Foundation for Communal Harmony. Okay, so this is the picture that we have created so far altogether. All right, like the introduction part, meaning of national integration, aims of national integration, and role of various factors in promoting the national integration. These topics are completed. This topic we have been discussing. These topics are left. In the previous lecture, basically we have talked about the regionalism. Okay, like we have discussed that this is basically a sub-regional nationalism and the sub-territorial loyalty. What do we mean by this? I had already explained you. I hope that you have revised it carefully. Thereafter, we have seen that basically the regionalism implies the love for a particular region, okay, or a particular state in preference to the country as a whole. It means when you show the love for the region and for the state in which you are residing, instead of showing a love, giving the preference to the country first, instead of the region and the state you are living. Thereafter, we have seen that within the state also, there is a concept that we call as an sub-regionalism, right? And that is the love for a particular region in preference to the state of which the region forms a part. Okay? We have discussed that the regionalism is a subsidiary process of the political integration in India. And this is a manifestation of those residual elements that do not find any expression. That do not find any expression in respect of two things, the national polity and the national culture. Okay? And basically this is also moreover you can see excluded from the centrality of new polity and express themselves as a political discontent and the political exclusionism, right? So this is what we have discussed. If we move forward, we have discussed that basically it is having the 6 forms. The first form is the state for secession from the Indian Union. Like we have discussed that some group of people are basically demanding that they want to be a separate state, okay, or separate nation you can say. All right. And we know as per the Article 1 of the Indian Constitution, this is not allowed. Why? Because Article 1 clearly states that Indian Union is not a part of any kind of agreement. So no state shall have the right to secede it from the Union of India. Okay. And if we talk about the groups like we have discussed, the Khalistan from the Punjab, Dravid Nat for the southern states, Mizos for the Mizoram, and Nagas for the Nagaland. Okay, that is what we have discussed. Then we have discussed that how it is separate from being demanded the separate statehood. Why? Because in the term of separate statehood, they are not demanding for the separate nation, but they are demanding that in which state they are living right now, because their ethnicity, their language, their culture is different from the rest of the people of that state. So they want the separate state. They do not want to be in that particular state. And the examples are Telangana, Bodoland, Uttarakhand, Vidarbha, Gorkhaland. All right. So these are the states. If we talk about them, if we talk about these 5 state examples that we're seeing over here, all right, okay. So now you're required to tell me like how many of these are the states right now, okay, and what are the years. In the previous lecture, I have told you about it, so I'm expecting the right answer from all of you this time. So I will grant you the 30 seconds to think and answer, and your time will start now. 30 seconds you have. Okay, you are just required to remember the state's name that have been created and the year in which they have been created. All right, 10 seconds have been passed, last 20s are remaining. Okay, last 20 seconds. Sorry, last 10 seconds are there. All right, the time's up. So the Telangana and the Uttarakhand, these are the 2 states that have been created. Okay, Telangana is the state that has been created from the separation from the state of Andhra Pradesh. Okay, and this is for the Telugu speaking people. Uttarakhand is separated from the state of Uttar Pradesh. Okay, for the people who speak Kumaon and Garhwali language. Okay, Telangana was separated in the year of 2014. Uttarakhand was separated in the year of 2000. Okay, now if I ask you Bodoland, so Bodoland is for the Bodo speaking people, for the Assamese. Okay, thereafter we have seen that there are the demand of people that belong to the certain union territories that they want their territories, union territories, to be a full-fledged statehood. Okay, then we have seen the Manipur, Tripura, and Goa. These 3 are the states right now. When they got separated from the merging states, they were established as a union territories, but over the period of time, due to the pressure, due to the convenience of administration and various factors, they were created as a separate state. While we talk about the Puducherry, Delhi, and the Daman and Diu, these are still the UTs, okay, or the union territories. We have seen that there are interstate boundary disputes. Okay, we have seen the examples of Chandigarh and the Belgaum. The Chandigarh is a dispute between Punjab and Haryana. The Belgaum or the Belgavi district is a dispute between Karnataka and Maharashtra. Even we have seen the river water disputes, because the rivers like the Kaveri, Krishna, Ravi Beas, and many others, these were not a single state rivers, but these were interstate rivers. It means they flows from various states. So usually there is a dispute over the water using by one state in respect of the another state. We have seen the formation of organizations that having the regional motives, and that even sometimes appoints the militant approach in pursuing of their policies and goals. Examples we have seen: the Shiv Sena, the Tamil Sena, Hindi Sena, Sardar Sena, Lachit Sena, and many more. Okay. We have seen the sons of the soil theory. Okay. Like we have discussed, as per the Article 16 of the Indian Constitution, everyone is equal, irrespective of his caste, his religion, his birthplace, okay, and his race and other factors. And everyone should be get a proper equality chance in the government jobs or the public services. Okay, but we know that some regions still give preference to the local people in the government job, private jobs, in granting of permits and so on. And this could be even justified by seeing the slogans like this: Assam for only the Assamese, Maharashtra is only for the Maharashtrians. Okay, so these were some things that we have seen in the regionalism. If we move forward, now we can see the communalism. Okay, this is another obstacles to the national integration. Okay, this is the another obstacles to the national integration. And this basically means communalism means for love for one's religious community. Okay, in preference to the nation, and tendency to promote the communal interest at the cost of interest of other religious communities. So you can say, suppose if someone belong to the Sanatan, someone belong to the Islam, someone belong to the Sikhism, someone to the Christian, someone is Jain, someone is Buddha. Okay, so the person belongs to that religion, he only advocates the welfare of his own religion. If he is Sanatan, then he only wants the benefit to the Sanatan. If he is Muslim, only wants the benefit of Muslim. If he is Sikhism, so on. All right. So basically, instead of preferring the nation, they are preferring their one's religious community. It means the communities they are living in. Okay. And also they are more tending towards promoting the communal interest. Okay. At cost of the interest of the other religious communities. It means if we talk about the national resources that are limited in number, and as we know, under the term of national integration, what we try is the most that we try to promote the common coordination amongst the different communities, different segments of the societies that are living in this country to have the using of that particular resources. All right. But when we talk about the communalism, so instead of using it commonly, the person who is addicted to the communalism, he will try to use these resources and he will demand the allocation of these resources to his own religious communities only. Okay, he will not tolerate that if these resources are being used by the other communities. So that's why the communal interest is basically on the cost of the interest of other religious communities. And you can say even snatching the resources from the other communities. Why? Because they are not belong to the religion, the person belong to this. Okay. And if we will try to track down its roots, so basically its roots is in the British rule also. Like whether it is 1909, 1919, 1935 acts. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you the second question. The year of 1909 and 1990, these were the acts of the Britishers. These acts also having the nicknames. What are their nicknames? You are required to tell me the nicknames of these acts. For this, I will again give you the 30 seconds to think and answer. Your time starts now. If you will look at the year, you will conclude that these years were basically the council acts. Okay. So you are required to just tell me the nickname. You could easily calculate it. Okay. 20 seconds have been passed. Last 10 seconds are remaining. So just try to think about it. All right. Last. So the 1909 is known as the Monte-Morley reforms. Is known as the Monte-Morley reforms. This is the nickname. 1990 is known as the Chelmsford and Montagu reforms. Okay, remember this. 1909 Morley-Minto reforms. 1919 Chelmsford and Montagu reforms. 1935 is the Government of India Act. So if we talk about that, the first is the 1909, that is also known as Morley-Minto reforms. So basically what happened in the 1909? that Britishers came with the idea that they will provide the separate communal electorate for the Muslims. Now, what is the meaning of communal electorate and how it is differs? So basically, you can say, what do you mean by the electorate? What is the meaning of electorate? What do you understand by? This is the first thing that you're required to understand. Okay. Electorate is basically the composition of voters. Okay. Electorate is basically the composition of voters. All right. So basically, the Britishers said, under the communal electorate for the Muslims, if any Muslim candidate electing the elections or competing in the elections, then only the Muslims can vote for him. So the electorate, the composition of the voters for selecting that particular person, will only contains the Muslims. Will only contains the Muslims and no one others. Only the Muslim voter could elect the Muslim candidate. Okay. So that was the idea that was brought in the 1909 by the, who brought it? Morley Minto reforms brought it. Okay. Then what happened? In the 1919, this communal electorate was got brought itself. How? It is not only included the Muslims, but even the provision was extended to the Christians, Anglo-Indians, Sikhs, Buddhists, and Jains. Okay. So basically, you can say the idea that was brought up in the 1909, the idea was further extended in the 1919 during the Chelmsford and Montagu reforms. All right. And that was basically creating a division between the Hindus and Muslims. Okay. Because if we will compare it with the today's election, if we talk about today's election, so someone is belong to the BJP, for example, someone is belong to the BJP, and you are also a supporter of the BJP, you are supporting the BJP. Then will you check the religion of the person who is standing from the BJP? No, you will vote in the name of BJP. So it means normally in today's time, the electorate comprised of the various segments of the population, irrespective of the religion, irrespective of the caste. Okay. Similarly, if you are supporting Congress and Congress candidate is electing in the elections, doesn't matter which caste he belongs to, doesn't matter. Okay. Doesn't matter which religion he belongs to, you will elect him. Why? Because he is belong to the party you are selecting. All right. So that's why in the normal terms, the electorate is basically composition of the mixed segments and almost every segment of the society. Because in India, we have the universal adult franchisee, which says everyone who is above the age of 18 is eligible to vote irrespective of the other discrimination areas. Okay. That is the thing. So if we talk about the voting age, we know voting age today is 18. But since the starting of the constitution and all, okay, the age was not an 18. So what was the age? The age was 21. Okay. So now this is the another question that I'm going to ask you is that which particular amendment act reduced the voting age from 21 to 18? Again, I'm repeating, which particular amendment act reducing the voting age from 21 to 18? To answer this, again, I will give you the 30 seconds. Already, I have discussed this many times with you. So I'm expecting the right answer from all of you. Your time starts now. Just think about it. 21 to 18. And let me give you a hint that was, you can say, came in the picture after the independence. Okay. 20 seconds have been passed. Last 10 seconds are remaining. Okay. All right. The time's up. So basically that was the 61st Amendment Act of 1987. 61st Amendment Act of 1987 was the act that reduced the voting age from 21 to 18. All right. So here I have explained you 1909 and 1919. Now what is the matter of 1935? In order to track down the matter of 1935, we must track it from the appointment of Simon Commission. Okay, if we talk about the Simon Commission, then what happened since the starting of the 20th century? Okay, since the starting of the 20th century, or you can say even before in the 19th century, during the 1856 and all, basically what the Britishers did, the Britishers tried to let the Indians enter in the legislative councils and the executive councils. Okay, or you can say technically let the Indians in the British political atmosphere. Why? Because after the revolt of 1857, the Britishers understood the thing clearly that without involving the Indians, they won't be able to rule over the country for a long duration. Why? Because they were not so much capable to understand the political aspirations, political, you can say, scenarios with the Indians. Okay? And as a result of it, they had to face a fierce revolt of 1857. Okay? So after the 1857, the Britishers came up with various policies that were actually letting the Indians inside the British atmosphere. All right. So basically, but however, you can say they were letting the Indians as the ex officio members. And we know the ex officio members having the right to sit and speak, but they do not have the rights to vote. Okay. So you can say technically the Britishers had the approach like they would invite the Indians to sit in the legislative councils, speak in the councils, but they could not vote on the provision. All right, that was the thing. Then what happened? When we entered in the 20th century, the Britishers further expanded the provisions and all. Okay, they were requiring the Indians so that they could rule the place. Okay, their clear motive was that. All right, but what happened? During this time, there was a formation of various political parties. Okay, and these political parties were basically, instead of making a way for the Britishers to rule the country through the political sphere, basically they raised the different obstacles. Different obstacles in front of the Britishers. So finally, the Britishers were requiring to review their policies which they had implemented over the period of time. Were these policies helping the Britishers, or were these policies basically exploiting their dream of ruling the India? So for this, they appointed the Simon Commission. Okay, it is also known as Statutory Commission. And they tasked the Simon Commission to review the Indian political sphere and recommended the provisions. Okay, but even the Britishers required a cover, so they could cover themselves. Okay, they could not clearly say to the Indians that we are going to revoke your participation and all. Okay, so basically when they sent the Simon Commission to the country of India, they said we are sending it so that we could review the Indian political sphere and we could give the more and more inputs of it. But then what happened? That basically the Simon Commission was, you can say, boycotted by the Indians. Why? Because the Simon Commission was the composition of 7 members, but none of these members was Indian. All the members were Britishers. So the Indians were demanding that if the Simon Commission really wanted to review the Indian political sphere, then why there is no Indian in this commission? Why only the foreigners, the Britishers, were coming to India? Okay, but somehow the Simon Commission came and basically prepared a report and submitted to the Britishers. Then, to discuss it with the Indian political parties, the Britishers organized the round table conferences. In the round table conferences, basically the Britishers get failed to draw any, you can say, compensative conclusion that would help them further in ruling the country. Okay, then what happened? In the year of 1932, when a third round table conference was organized. In the year of 1932, when the third round table conference was organized, the Ramsay MacDonald, who was the Prime Minister of Britain of that time, he proposed the separate electorate for the Muslims again, or you can say he gave the communal award to the Muslims. Okay, that is further known as the Ramsay Award. or McDonald Award. Okay, under this particular award, basically they said there will be a, you can say, separate electorate for the Muslims and the depressed class. Okay, those who are non-Muslims but are having the inadequate representation, or you can say are having the minority in the Indian society. Okay, then what happened? This was further extended. Okay, but Mahatma Gandhi revolted against it. He said if this McDonald Award would be implemented, the depressed class, the Muslims and all, they will be separated from the mainstreams. Why? Because they will have nothing to do with the leaders of other caste and all. But Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he was supporting it. Then we know there was a rounds of negotiation between these two main figures, Mahatma Gandhi and the B.R. Ambedkar, and somehow they draw a conclusion that known as the Pune Pact. Under the Pune Pact, they decided instead of accepting the McDonald Award or giving the separate electorate towards the Muslims and the depressed class, they would reserve the seats for them. All right, but still, in the year of 1935, when the Government of India Act was passed, the Britishers, you can say, revived the provision of communal representation, and they granted the representation on the communal basis to the Muslims, to the Sikhs, to the other minority groups, okay, to the Anglo-Indians and the Christians. Okay, so basically through these main acts, 1909 Morley-Minto reforms, 1919 Chelmsford and Montagu reforms, 1935 the Government of India Act, they had introduced the communal representations for the Muslims and Sikhs and others, and basically they raised the roots, and you can say they sowed seeds of communalism in India. Okay, but not the Britishers had the fault, or you can say not the Britishers are the one who gave us the communalism, and because of them only we are facing it. We couldn't say it. However, we could say that yes, they had the hand in this, but still the communalism got accentuated with the politicization of the religion even after the independence. Okay, it means that Britishers were having the roots of the communalism, but even after the independence, various political leaders, the political parties, for their self-benefit, promoted the politicization of religion. Okay, and indirectly promoting the communalism. That is a thing. Okay, so students, basically in this lecture we have finished till here. In the next lecture we would continue from here. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture and thank you.